ultimate secret weapon. They are the uncredited geniuses behind every Disney theme park, ride, and attraction. They're called Imagineers, and they may just have one of the best jobs in the world. In the next hour, we'll go inside their incredible world of insidious elevators, realistic robotic figures, and spectacular splashes. And find out how they design and create the spine-tingling thrill rides and mind-boggling attractions that delight, thrill, and terrify the entire world. We've gone straight to the secret vaults of Disney's Imagineers and uncovered footage that has never been seen before. Watch now, because we're revealing the unknown secrets behind Disney's biggest and best attractions and going inside the top secret world of the master magicians who bring them to life. They're Disney's Imagineers. Disney's theme parks. They're the most visited amusement parks in the entire world. According to Amusement Business Magazine, Disney holds the top 5 spots for theme park attendance. But what is the secret to their extraordinary success?
Whatever they do, they want to do the best. And they bring in some of the most creative people that they can find to create that brain trust within the creative world.
Who are the sorcerers behind Space Mountain? The geniuses behind the gigantic castles? And the mad scientists who bring pirates to life? For these demanding jobs, you need imagination to dream it up and engineering to bring it to life. That's why they call them Imagineers.
An Imagineer is a person who brings storytelling and art and design together with technology and engineering to create Disney theme park magic.
They're the brains behind every Disney theme park and attraction. And somehow they keep topping themselves with one thrilling hit after another.
That's what makes their attractions the bar that everybody else is trying to achieve in the industry.
Every day, more than 100,000 people on 3 continents in 10 theme parks enter the imaginative realms they create. You can soar over London with Peter Pan, follow Indiana Jones on a forbidden adventure, or fall to your doom in an abandoned hotel. These rides and attractions are the pinnacle of theme park design. So how does Disney come up with this mind-boggling array of awesome attractions? It all started back in 1952 when Walt Disney had a brilliant idea. He went to his best film animators and told them they were going to be theme park creators.
One day he walked by my desk and he said, "I want you to work for Disneyland and you're going to like it." And he walked right on through. He didn't wait for an answer or anything.
For Imagineering, California's Disneyland is where it all began.
They started out working at Disneyland and then have built virtually every park and every attraction within the Disney organization since then.
In those days, Imagineering was known as WED Enterprises for Walter Elias Disney, but people were confused by the name WED.
We got a little tired of getting all these phone calls from people who wanted us to arrange marriages for them, so we changed it to Walt Disney Imagineering.
Since California's Disneyland, the Imagineers have taken the theme park world by storm. You could say they set the gold standard, and these days, everyone tries to copy them.
What I find fascinating today in any theme park design, you talk to the people who did the design, and invariably you'll look back and see that this person was trained by, or the person they were trained by was trained by, somebody who worked for Disney.
Most people take it for granted, but the scope of what the Imagineers do is absolutely huge. artists, sculptors, architects, computer scientists, and engineers.
People are always asking, what does an Imagineer do? What's your typical day? And your first answer is always, there is no typical day.
Imagineers are people who really try and create impossible things in a real world.
Impossible things in a real world? Sounds pretty tough. So let's start at the beginning. The very first step, brainstorming. The Imagineers call this stage blue sky. At this point, anything is possible.
Typically, or quite often, a blue sky process or blue sky session can be a blank sheet of paper where we literally don't know what we're doing. And we start with that and take off.
Every Imagineer agrees there's one crucial element that sets their attractions apart from the competition. And it's probably not what you think.
The most important element of every attraction is the story.
The show has a story, based on story.
It starts with a story.
The story.
The story.
A story. In a theme park?
Well, story is so important to attractions is because it is the glue that holds it all together. It is the emotional connection.
Whether it's a classic Disney animated film story or a story that belonged in the past to somebody else or something we've completely made up just from our parks, it really makes a big difference in the overall experience.
Thanks to the story, you probably remember the classic attractions from the days of Walt Disney. This one may be a 30-year-old ride, but it's still a spellbinding story.
Pirates of the Caribbean is probably the attraction that's regarded as the most story-intensive attraction that we've ever done.
Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the attractions that Walt Disney personally supervised. In fact, I think it was the last attraction that he personally supervised. And it has a wonderful story and a wonderful sense of storytelling from a theme park.
Pillaging pirates, madcap maidens, the quest for buried treasure. It's Pirates of the Caribbean. And it puts you smack dab in the middle of a swashbuckling fantasy adventure.
In case you don't know what pirates are all about, the first thing we do is remind you. First thing you see is a skeleton with a sword through his chest. We're introducing the audience to all the things that are about pirates.
There isn't a narrative there. It's a narrative of images throughout, but it is about a lighthearted look at pirates and the trouble that they cause and they get into.
This rollicking adventure is one of the best stories from the past. But what kind of stories are the Imagineers telling today? At the Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida, you'll find one of the best. A 60-mile-an-hour head rush of adrenaline-pumping pleasure. It's Disney's newest coaster, and it's called Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. The announcement of this new cutting-edge coaster rocked the theme park world.
When they first announced that Disney and Aerosmith was going to be tied together in an attraction, a lot of us went, whoa, this is going to be cool, because it shows edginess. It shows that the Imagineers of today aren't the Imagineers that our fathers knew. It's a whole new concept.
This coaster is cool, and it's entirely in the dark. But it's the story that makes it a one-of-a-kind theme park thrill.
Story is really important for Rock and Roller Coaster because the name itself suggests an average ride, a roller coaster. Everybody's seen them, everybody's done it. The storyline here separates the fact that it's a roller coaster with an experience.
Disney stories often begin while you're waiting in line. This is what Disney calls the pre-show.
It starts out with this recording company that we created, a fictitious one called G-Force Records, that has their home studio here at the Disney MGM Studios.
At Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, you start by entering a recording studio and come face to face with the band Aerosmith.
Knowing Disney and what they put into these Megillas, I knew that it would be nothing short of a ride to the moon and back. And then when I heard it was a Rock and Roller Coaster, it was like, what else? What's the question? We're there. So we were ecstatic.
In the story, Aerosmith is late to a gig and offers you some backstage passes. The hitch? The concert's on the other side of town.
Off we go then out of the studio, and there is a stretch limousine that's going to take us to the concert. And of course, because we're late for the concert, it's going to take us there very, very fast.
The limo, of course, is the coaster. Rock and roll tunes pump through a state-of-the-art sound system. A red light. Traffic is jammed. Then, put the pedal to the metal, because before you even leave the station, it's 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. And a twisting, turning, headbanging trip through downtown Hollywood.
story is really a race to the concert. And that kind of story overlay is what we do at Imagineering.
Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith is a great example of how story makes a difference. But it's only the first step. It's a long road to making a ride into reality. What's next? Putting it down on paper. With painstaking attention to detail, each scene must be mapped out on a storyboard, just like those used in the movies.
The storyboard process is where we really decide what the story of the attraction is going to be.
The storyboard is the Bible for every new attraction.
We refer back to the storyboards through the whole design process. The storyboards help you keep focus on what the main story is as we move along, as we build our model, as we do our illustrations.
Once the illustrations are complete, a scale model is created. This meticulous mock-up is a dead ringer for the real ride.
We make the model at a certain height so that the art director can stand in the model with their eyes at about the same height like the guest's eyes would be. And then you can look through the model and carefully identify how all the pieces look next to each other in the right configuration.
Once the models are complete, they turn to the computer. It allows Imagineers to virtually ride their creations before they build them. Designs and mock-ups take years, but they're still just the beginning. Everything is tested over and over, and then they test it again.
We'll have Imagineers who have already ridden something, a couple of years before it actually goes into the field. And we'll tweak and we'll see, does this work exactly how we thought it would, or is this too scary, or is it not fun enough? We'll make all the adjustments necessary.
After years of toiling over stories and mock-ups and riding through testing facilities, it's finally time to build the real thing. But when building in the real world, suddenly you have real problems. How do you turn storyboards and a model into a mammoth mountain that will thrill thousands of visitors a day? The perfect example can be found at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. It's called Splash Mountain. It puts you smack dab in the middle of a feud between Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit. And then it takes you to the top of the Magic Kingdom and drops you to the watery depths below.
It's almost like going through a three-dimensional movie. We've got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and wherever you see the characters in this ride, you see them in their typical poses of their relationships to each other.
So the whole story is you're going along, it's, you go through the happy place, you're singing songs.
As you progress through the ride, the mood gets a little bit darker, the music changes, the lights come down, the colors get darker.
And then all of a sudden, you've almost forgotten the fact that you're going to come around the corner and voila, you're going to go up this drop.
And you know that something is about to happen.
If you've made it this far, it's too late. You're going to go up and you're going to come down. And when you do, it's a heart-stopping, skin-soaking 52-foot drop. You'll be glad when it's over. Splash Mountain may be the simple story of a wily fox and a curious rabbit, but it was a bear to build. The ride had to be an exact replica of the scale mock-up. So how do you turn a 1-inch scale model into an 87-foot mountain?
Once that model is done and complete and bought off, we will then take it and divide it up into little cubes, put it in a computer, and do an XY axis CAD drawing off of it.
This information is sent to a rebar bending machine. This powerful contraption twists and bends rods of steel into cages that will form the skeletal structure of the mountain.
Those cages, and there will be thousands of them, then get shipped to the site where there's a major primary structural steel that's been built, and they get welded onto that steel, and a mountain starts to take shape in the form of a frame.
Specialized sculptors then take over. A hulking mass of metal is transformed into a whimsical mountain.
We come through with lath, plaster, and some of the best artisans in the world come in and sculpt rock work.
The finishing touches? Paint and plants make the mountain come to life. It may be a mountainous marvel on the outside,